friend. Welcome to Romans chapter 8. We are on day 2 today, and I am so thankful that you are here. And yes, I got my hair cut yesterday. It came out much shorter than what I anticipated. So if you're surprised this morning, I am equally surprised too. But here we are. I just wanted to call it out because I don't want it to be a distraction. Friends, we are to Romans chapter 8. Here is the heart, the very heart of Paul's letter. And today is beautiful. We don't want to miss the gift that we have received through Jesus. So with that, let's dig right in. I'll go ahead and read the verses. Starting at verse 12. So then, brothers and sisters, we are debtors, not to the flesh, to live according to the flesh. For if you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you will live. For all who are led by the Spirit of God are sons of God. For you did not receive the spirit of slavery to fall back into fear, but you have received the spirit of adoption by whom we cry, Abba, Father. Oh, the Spirit himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God, and if children, then heirs, heirs of God, and fellow heirs with Christ, provided we suffer with him in order that we may also be glorified with him. All right, friends, beautiful. And now I've spent a significant number of time. I felt like every other word was a key word today. So I was looking up a lot of words. I was looking up a lot of cross references. I wonder if you had too. I wish you were sitting right here that we could talk about it. Exactly. What does it mean to be a debtor? What does it mean? Paul has used this word flesh a lot. He used it 10 times in yesterday's passage. Today's passage begins with that, the flesh, this sinful humanity, this basically this carcass that we live in. And it's understood, here's what my Bible dictionary says, it's understood as the seat of sin and rebellion to God. And Paul begins today as really a continuation of yesterday. That, look, believers in Jesus, part of his main point yesterday was that believers in Jesus are not in the flesh, but now in the Spirit. We belong to God. That he made that abundantly clear yesterday. All right, so we are no longer in the flesh. And today Paul says, look, you're not a debtor to the flesh. You're not an obligated person to the flesh. You're no longer obligated to live according to these fleshly desires. All right, we are now debtors. We are obligated to the Spirit. All right, so with that, we might ask, how do we know? How do we know we belong to God? How do we know? All right, many of us have made a declaration of faith, and Paul's going to get into that in a couple more chapters in Romans chapter 10, how we profess our faith, that we believe in our hearts. But he also gives us a guarantee. He seals us with his Spirit. So how can we know that we belong to God? His Spirit. It is his Spirit, the Spirit of Jesus Christ, that makes it clear. And in today's passage, Paul says several things about the Spirit. Really, there were 2, but I kind of added a third here. Number 1, I'm sure you saw this too. The Spirit leads the children of God. This is verse 6. Let me see here. Verse 16. No, this is verse 14. I'm sorry. For all who are led by the Spirit of God are sons of God. Now, that says sons. Friends, sons, this means children, all right? Whether male or female, it's just understood collectively as sons, kind of like we say humankind, all right, is male and female. So sons, these are adopted by God. These are the ones who are adopted by God, as we're going to get into down below. But this is what my Bible dictionary says. Sons are those adopted by God who will be resurrected from the dead into the next age. All right, and Paul is unpacking that for us, and he's even going to unpack that a bit more tomorrow. That might be getting ahead of ourselves. All right, children of God, or sons. Let's see. Sorry, I'm all over. For all who are led by the Spirit of God are sons of God. There were many cross references to this. I recommend looking them up. I always love John chapter 1, verse 12, but to all who did receive him, to all who received that free gift of grace that Paul has been talking about here, he gave this right to be children of God. Children of God. All right, we're going to let that sink. We're going to let that sink in. We are just going to hang there on children of God. All right, so the Spirit leads the children of God. What else does the Spirit do? The Spirit bears witness that we are children of God. All right, that battle that we have within, whether to live by our fleshly desires or to walk by the Spirit, there's the Spirit calling to us saying, no, go this way. All right, the Spirit bears witness, tells us that we are children of God. I feel like I had something else to say about that. All right, so how do we know we belong to God? It is the Spirit. The Spirit leads the children of God. The Spirit bears witness that we are children of God. And notice, Paul starts out at the beginning, verse 13, that it is the Spirit that helps the children of God put to death the deeds of the body. So then, brothers and sisters, we are debtors not to the flesh to live according to the flesh. For if you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by the Spirit, all right, the Spirit will help us, you put to death, that means you stop utterly, like you utterly stop something. You kill, you stop. My Bible dictionary goes on to say to stop a state or actively kill. I'm so sorry. To stop a state or activity with lethal determination. All right. It is to stop something utterly. It's to do it no more. It's to kill that fleshly desire. The Spirit helps us put to death the deeds of the flesh. Wow. That tells us a lot about God. It tells us a lot about the Spirit. What a blessing. I mean, we could stop our study right there and just praise God for who He is, that He has gifted us with His Spirit that leads us, that bears witness that we are His children, and helps us live according to His ways, helps us put to death these deeds of the flesh. All right. Now, I ask this question. How much do we belong to God? Just exactly. What does that look like? How do we belong to God? And friends, this is just where I want to sit. We belong to God so much so that He has made us His children. He has adopted us. He has become our Father, and we have become His sons and daughters. And heirs, fellow heirs with Jesus Christ. Now, I think we should just sit there. That's why I had so many key words to look up. I wanted to look up this adoption, heir. What does it mean to be an heir? What does it mean to be sons or children of God? Remember, those are the ones who are adopted by God. Friends, when Paul was writing this letter, like, here's a place where we need to put on our first century glasses to understand, okay, how would the Romans have received Paul's letter? Oh, their antennas would have gone up here when he used the word adoption. And let me just read that verse. Now I can't find it. Okay, for you did not receive the spirit of slavery to fall back into fear. Fear, that's this emotion, experience, or anticipation of some specific pain or danger, all right? We don't need to be afraid, all right? We don't need to be afraid because we have received the spirit of adoption as sons, by whom we cry, Abba, Father. Who else cried, Abba, Father? That was Jesus. That was Jesus. Mark records that in Mark chapter 14, verse 36. Jesus was there in Gethsemane and he cried out, Abba, Father, all things are possible for you. Remove this cup from me. Yet not what I will, but what you will. All right. These are the very words of Christ. And this is what God has done. He has adopted us into his family. And as I was saying, if we put on our first century glasses and look at it from the Roman perspective, adoption was a huge deal. Here's the definition of adoption: a legal proceeding that creates a parent-child relation between persons not related by blood, with the adopted child being entitled to all privileges belonging to a natural child. So friends, we've been adopted to receive the same privileges of Jesus Christ. To be an heir is a person entitled by law to inherit the estate of another. God has adopted us as his father. It was a huge deal in the Greco-Roman culture. So much so, if we look at some of the emperors like Julius Caesar, he adopted Octavian. Octavian became the next emperor. That's how much he inherited. He became the next emperor. He became Caesar Augustus, who was the Caesar when Jesus Christ was born. All right, let's think about that. Sit in that. What does it mean that we are heirs and fellow heirs with Christ? What does it mean that we have been adopted by God the Father, the God of the universe, and we are heirs alongside of Christ? I cannot really begin to wrap my mind around it this morning. God the Father makes us his children. We are fellow heirs with Christ. We will be glorified with him. We will have life, eternal life with him. Friends, we who are sinners, this is the newness of life that we have. All right, how do we apply that today? Oh, friends, I think we need to, just where we landed yesterday, we need to know our identity. We are children of the living God, children of the living God. And as God's child, how could I live according to the flesh? How could I? No, through the Spirit, by the power of the Spirit, we need to put to death the deeds of the body. To live according to the flesh, how dishonoring to our Father, to our brother, Jesus Christ. No, friends, we've been given this gift, this newness of life. We've been given the gift of the Spirit. Here's the heart of Romans, the gift of the Spirit, to know the heart and the mind of Jesus, to think like him and to live like him. Let us listen and walk with the Spirit today.